All right, in the last video, you learned how to find slope from a graph. You also learned what kind of slopes there are: positive, negative, horizontal is zero, vertical is undefined. Well, today we're gonna learn how to find slope using a formula. You don't have the graph. There is a formula that you can use to find slope. However, I'm going to show you a different way to do it using a table that I actually like better.
At this time, please release athletes and those staying for after-school activities. Athletes and those staying after school.
Okay, yeah, the announcements get in the way. All right, so let me switch the screen over. Make sure you're on page 3 in your packet. So the topic is using the slope formula. So at the end of this, will you be able to find slope using the slope formula? Now, if you remember, what is the letter that stands for slope? The letter that stands for slope is M, okay? Now, this formula for slope is y sub 2. That's not an exponent. That's a subscript. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That just means the second y minus the first y and the second x minus the first x. That's what that means. So let's do an example. Let's do number 2 that way. I'm going to find the slope using the formula. All right. So before you do that, you should label your points. This is x1. This is y1. This is x2. This is y2. All right. This is the first x. This is the first y. This is the second x. This is the second y. Now the formula is y2 minus y1. Now, whenever you see negative numbers, you should wrap them. All right. So you're going to start with y2. That is a negative number. So I'm going to wrap it. Negative 2 minus, the formula has a minus, y2 minus y1. Well, the first y is not negative, so I don't need to wrap it. So that's going to be just 4, subtract 4. On the bottom, it's x2. That's not a negative number, so I don't need to wrap it, minus x1. Now, x1 is a negative number, so I'm going to wrap it in parentheses. Now, I just need to figure out what this is. That's negative 2 minus 4. The top is negative 6. Now, the bottom, that is a double negative, so that's actually 10 plus 2. That's going to give me 12. Negative 6 over 12 reduces to negative 1/2. So the slope is negative 1/2. And if you remember, that means down 1 to the right 2. Now, let me show you another way I like to do it. I like to do it using a table. All right. So let me do a couple examples using the table, and you can see which way you like better. All right. So number 5, I also like to use a table. Now, the table is going to look like this. X, y. So just put the first x and y here, 5 and 9. Put the second x and y here, 3 and 9. All right. Now remember, slope is rise over run. That means you do the y's on top and you do the x's on the bottom, and that rhymes. Y's is rise, x's or run. You do rise first. So here's the slope. Look at your y's. How do you get from 9 to 9? How many do you have to go up to get from 9 to 9? The answer is 0. Now here's the run. How do you get from 5 to negative 3? To go from 5 to negative 3, you'd have to go down 2. So your run is negative 2. There goes the bell again.
At this time, all students staying after school should now be with their sponsors in their designated locations. All hallways.
So 0 over negative 2, what does that reduce to? 0 over anything reduces to 0. And if you remember, that's horizontal. All right. Let's do another example using a table. I'm going to skip up to number 8. Number 8. All right. I'm going to use the table again. All right. X, Y. I like doing the table better than using the formula. So put the first x and y here. Put the second x and y here. All right. Now this is the rise. You do the rise first. The rise is the y's. How do you get from 3 to negative 2? All right. If you look on a number line, if you start at 3 and you go to negative 2, what do? If you're not sure, just take the second number and subtract the first number. -2 minus 3 is -5. But you can also think of it in your head. If you start at 3 and you go down to -2, in other words, what if I started from 3 degrees positive above 0 and I went to 2 below 0? Well, that's a change. You would have to go down 5 to do that. Now, how do you get from -4 to +6? Well, if you start at -4 and you go all the way to 6, that's up 10. And -5/10 reduces to -1/2. And we'll do one more. I like using a table, so let's do number 10. All right, so number 10, I'm going to make my XY again. All right, I'm put the first point here, 9, -4. Put the second point here, 1, -4. Slope is rise first. How do you go from -4 to -4? Well, you don't go up any or down any. How do you go from 9 to 1? To get from 9 to 1, you would have to go down 8. So the slope is 0 over -8. That would reduce to 0. Let's see. Let's just do one more. Let's go back and do number 6. All right, so XY. Let's put the first point here, put the second point here. How do you get from 8 to 5? That's my rise. How do you get from 8 to 5? Well, that's -3. How do you get from -7 to -7? You don't go over any. 0 on the bottom, though. Anytime you have 0 on the bottom, that is undefined. All right, so that's slope using the formula and slope using the table.